Hello, everyone. Welcome once again. Good to have you along. Let's get into it. So we rejoin our crew as they're sort of in the Harmonic Echo Station, making preparations to head on in the caravan, led by the somewhat flamboyant, flamethrower-wielding Vox-Kana, Deveronian mercenary, and his kind of herd of shack transport animals. Yeah, I wonder what you're all doing to kind of prepare, if anything, or if you're all ready to go.
I travel light. I'm good to go.
Good to go, yeah.
It's pretty dry. Have we got enough supplies, like water and stuff?
Yeah, looks on face value, Vox is like, don't worry, everything's all in order. We're ready to go. You're certainly welcome to check over or, make your own inventory or prepare as you like.
Yeah, make like a general check of the manifests. Make sure like we're not carrying like glitter steam or and a cupcake.
Yeah.
Or when you get the munchies after all the glitter steam.
Ship repair gear. We need that, definitely, if we need to fix that ship.
Yeah.
Yep. Have you got any of that on hand already on you, or?
No, we might have to source it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
okay.
it'll be rudimentary things, enough to get this thing airborne, enough to get a computer running. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's just got to work.
You realize that we took this job because we didn't have money to do any of that, right?
Hey, Buzzia,
What
what if we make a ship a few kilos lighter? But the station owner needs us to do this, so he can tweak for the cost of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So look, I guess if you're wanting to go over what there is on the caravan and also like in terms of survival gear, if someone wants, they're welcome to make a survival roll, or if someone wants to make a mechanics roll to go over what, ship repair gear is there or not, you're welcome to do that, or you can kind of just trust with what they've got.
I think Bazia is also, she has a stash of luxury trade goods that are like the emergency stash, but this seems to be a good place because nobody will have had any of the little luxuries in life.
Uh-huh.
So you've got this secreted on your person kind of thing, hey, like ready to go.
Just tagging around.
Well, it's secreted in the hidden storage on the ship, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you're sort of bringing them, because you can't bring the ship with you, so I guess you're bringing stuff out of the ship and packing it on the back of the shack and
because it's not it's not like in the parts of the galaxy that we've been inhabited that these are as much of luxury items as they are out here.
No, absolutely.
Are we talking about like beef jerky and things like that?
Yeah, like I think, the chocolates, the sweets, the things that people will pay a lot for if they've gone without for a long time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking we forgot we should roll the destiny pool actually as well, so let's go ahead and do that.
Yep.
Oh no, that's 4.
It's good news for me.
And 2 light.
2 light and 4 dark. That seems like a fair distribution and, fits with the
fair
developing theme of the moment. Journey into darkness. Okay. So if anyone wants to check over any of that, you're welcome to, or otherwise, if you're happy to just proceed, we can go ahead and move on out of town.
I'll do a mechanics check because I think I'm the only mechanic in this motley crew.
Yeah. So give us we'll say it's a 2 purple, but 3 black because it's all sort of packed away and they're not really wanting you to like get it out and go through it all and
All right, let's see. And roll. A lot of dice. And I succeeded. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
1 threat, but 1 triumph as well.
Yeah. So look, I think you go through it, even though it's all sort of a bit packed away, you get a pretty good sense of what's there. It's a kind of pretty comprehensive kind of kit, I suppose, at least as far as you've been used to using. Like it seems that it has all the sort of bits and pieces there. And what else to say? I think in terms of the Triumph, I think you notice that it's all sort of from, like it sort of fits with the kind of Corellian Engineering Corporation standard that they normally use for their ships. And so it's fairly standard sort of like freighter repair kind of kit stuff. So Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
all.
not during rigging. It's too much.
Yeah, no. It all looks like it's relatively comprehensive there. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, and happy with the survival side. No one's kind of wanting to go over the. No, that sort of makes sense. Hey.
Yeah.
All
Don't think that's really our skill set.
Well,
right. Yeah.
that's my character's particular skill set. So I don't know if you want me to roll for it, but
If you're wanting to just have a quick glance over, you certainly can. But
I think we'll be fine. We've got the Uvori with us as well. They're native to this.
yeah, you have some of them with you.
area.
The other thing that as you're getting ready to set up, there's probably about 10 or so of the Yavori. They've got this kind of almost kind of ethereal kind of look to them, sort of slightly taller than most kind of humanoids, with this kind of thin willowy limbs, expressive eyes, but they don't seem to they don't communicate much with you directly, like they kind of and they don't speak basic themselves, and so they might occasionally kind of use gestures and stuff to those that are familiar with it. Like you see the leader of the expedition, Vox, who kind of makes several sort of terse gestures towards them to kind of get things going, and you see they sort of comply and go along with it, kind of thing. But yeah, you don't get a real kind of clear sort of sense of them. I suppose most of them sort of seem to be mainly quiet or communicating with each other in this kind of sing-song kind of language that they keep relatively brief. These ones look a little more kind of a little better off than the ones you saw hanging around the town, but not much. Like they still look like they're kind of a little bit kind of weakened and so on. And the other thing that happens is, as well as Vox, that you're kind of joined by a trio of kind of Bith that are all kind of carrying laser carbines, who are kind of there as well to kind of guard and herd along and so on. So if you remember, Bith are the funny looking fellows that are famously musicians, but these guys are not so musically talented. Yep.
The Avori, do they consume like water, like what we would as humans, or do they drink something like toxic to us? And what about eating? Because I'm just thinking from a survival standpoint.
Yeah, you probably don't know enough about their physiology to kind of probably comment, really.
Oh, where's Mary when you need her?
Yeah, where is she?
I mean, and they're not the kind of thing that you can just kind of look it up on a galactic database because they're,
No.
really only seen around this part. So yeah.
Okay.
That's a good question. Okay, so anyway, Vox kind of like brashly sort of like, let's get out of here. Come on, we've wasted enough time here already. Like between you kind of check over the ship and things, he sort of feels like he's eager to get going. So yeah, you make your way out into this kind of glittering kind of plain of, sort of like fractured kind of crystalline formations, kind of like glinting, otherwise fairly dark, foreboding kind of environment. It's quite beautiful. And, you sort of settle into this kind of rhythm, as you kind of travel for the better part of a day kind of thing before Vox kind of like calls a halt and, sort of settles you down for the night kind of thing to kind of camp. And he sort of says, look, it should be about another 4 days kind of thing from here before we kind of reach our destination, all going well. Yeah, there's probably not much to really sort of say at that point. So you sort of settle in for the night. Another day, passes much the same. On the second night, though, you're kind of woken by some sort of rapid kind of gunfire into the night, and you kind of rise to see the three Bith herders kind of like yelling at each other and kind of like firing off weapons into the distance. But it all sort of seems to amount to not very much, and whether they sort of got spooked or something, a quick investigation, there doesn't seem to be anything kind of there. Maybe you put it down to the heat. It's kind of unbearably hot, really. It's pretty overwhelming, sort of increasingly so. Yeah, and so the journey kind of continues on there sort of similarly. So the next couple of days. Day 3, it's especially hot, though. So what I'm going to get you to do is all make me a resilience check. And we'll make it against 3 purple, and then we'll have kind of an additional 2 black to kind of cover the kind of tiredness of the kind of the travel and so on. So this is kind of dealing with the overbearing heat and so on.
3 purple, 2 black.
Yeah.
I failed.
I really failed.
Oh, I failed.
Yeah.
And threats abound.
Yeah.
Have we got one for Gadriel as well? Did I miss that, or is that in there?
Yeah, no, I'm checking And I am going to use the force
Ooh,
Oh.
okay.
to enhance my resilience. I have 2 non-committed force points. So I'm throwing them there too.
Oh,
Nope,
Yeah, okay.
Well, it succeeded.
I succeeded, but however, I may have touched something through the force that was not quite right.
That's right.
Blowback is a bitch.
I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
So you manage, I don't know, I think what
Spiteful
happens
woman.
is between the heat and this kind of light that beats down through the day when you're moving, you know, like kind of glittering off the stones, bright, shining in your eyes. So for Runsai and Vazia and Amaya, it actually becomes kind of too much for you. And you kind of go into a bit of a sort of haze. And it's only sort of like, you know, on day 4, when you're sort of camping for the night, you know, a whole day kind of passes and you've been in this kind of delirium and you kind of wake up on this kind of stretcher being kind of carried on the back of one of these shacks, that it's just all been too much. You see that now, as you kind of wake, you know that the party's a little bit sort of thinned in terms of there's only one of the Bith remaining, as well as your fearless leader is, you know, still there, but he's looking sort of pretty haggard and worse for wear. But what Gadriel, so you do manage to kind of hold on, even though you're kind of staggering along and, you know, struggling through the heat. But as you sort of like draw on the sort of the forces and the balance in the universe around you to kind of get you through this hardship, you're struck by these pretty like horrifying visions of all sorts of kind of flashes of what feels like it never forms into something completely, but it's like scenes of kind of torture and destruction and so on, and kind of fairly brutal, kind of overwhelming, almost like waking dreams kind of thing. You kind of like think, am I hallucinating? Is this kind of really there?
Okay.
But yeah, pretty unpleasant. And then I guess you do sort of, you know, notice that they sort of stop partway through the day to kind of like hastily bury a couple of the Bith kind of thing that have just kind of perished in the heat, before moving on. Obviously, and you know, probably too busy kind of just tending to your compatriots though, and keeping an eye on them to kind of, you know, make much more. There's not much more that can be done anyway.
Yeah, just give them water, put some oil in Amaya, make sure that she doesn't.
Yeah.
A little bit of coolant.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
not a cyborg. She's just got some assistance.
She's got some prostheses. Yeah. Look, the other thing that I think becomes apparent is that with the Evori that were with you, they're probably, like I said, 10 or so. You don't necessarily notice, but I think you don't notice them leave, but by the time you get to this penultimate night of the journey, there's only about 4 of them with you, and they weren't witness to die or anything. They just kind of left or whatever, or disappeared, or you're not sure. So it's a sort of much reduced party. The shack, similarly, like a couple of the animals kind of had to be put down as the course goes. So yeah, things have been pretty tough kind of thing. Some equipment was left behind to sort of make room for kind of carrying stretchers and so on. But on the sort of last evening, Vox is, you know, seems a little bit sort of flagging in terms of his confidence, but he's still confident that you're going to get there on the next day kind of thing, as planned.
I asked him, is this a stretch usually like this?
He says, I forgot this is your first time out here. Yes, this is a particularly difficult stretch. Traveling between, you know, through the obsidian abyss to get to the abyssal salvage outpost. It's a brutal journey.
And the native explorers always just ditch the caravan halfway.
He's like, oh, you can't really rely on them. Like we give them all manner of inducements, you know, and been given various assurances from Jax that he's kind of finally, you know, got a reliable bunch. But you know, this has happened before. It does happen again. You know, who can say why they do this? We just have to carry on.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, we're almost there. Not much point turning back now. Hey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So look, the next day again, it sort of, you know, passes. It's sort of still unbearably hot, but it's kind of dips down a bit from that kind of day. So you all sort of are able to kind of walk rather than ride in stretches and so on now, you know, even though it's, you know, you spend some time riding on the back of the beast and so on to try and rest. and you kind of come in pretty late in the day into this. What's the word for that? I'm thinking it's kind of like steep cliffs on all sides kind of thing. You come out of this canyon almost that forms the last part into this sheltered pocket kind of, I suppose, with high cliffs on all side. The cliffs are made of these large, dark kind of crystalline structures. And you can see there's this station that looks like it's kind of been made almost out of like trash that, has kind of just drifted in from anywhere. Like you can see like there's bits of kind of starship strapped to it. There's bits of, tent material. There's bits of crystal and so on that have been kind of nailed onto it. It's a fairly ramshackle looking thing. And you can see next to it, there's a kind of clearing with some sort of rudimentary kind of landing lights. And sitting there is a ship sitting there that's kind of like, perched on the kind of landing pad. It looks pretty old, pretty run down, but presumably this is the sort of thing that you're going to need to repair to get going. I guess first things first, Vox sort of says that we need to really, check in and report to the station master and kind of, report on our losses and the progress. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you sort of brought into this station. Again, there's a few different kind of folks there. There are a few Evori kind of coming and going, but it's primarily kind of regular galactic citizens that are there. And you're taken into this kind of Chiss woman, so sort of blue skinned with red eyes kind of lady, who is sort of sitting behind this desk, writing with a sort of stylus on a kind of notepad. She sort of greets you and says, "Tell me, how was your journey?"
I look at Vox like,
Yeah, Vox is kind of like, well, it was kind of to be expected. We lost a couple, but here we are. As good as can be expected. And she sort of notes down and she sort of says, "How many did you lose? How many of Ori? How many of the crew?" And he sort of says, "Oh, well, we lost two of the Bith handlers." And, he says, we sort of end up with the three of Ori that kind of joined you at the other end. And she says, "Oh, very good," and kind of notes that down. Yeah, and that's about sort of what he's got to say. Vox is kind of like, "Look, I don't really have time for all this kind of accounting. I'm going to go out and get my stuff unloaded. But I believe this is your crew that I think have been sent to head on to try and get in touch with who." And she sort of looks up at that and says, "Very well, another group. Hopefully they prove more hardy than the last lot, the last pilot who went missing."
Yeah. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, he sort of was getting increasingly eccentric and erratic, and then he, left in the middle of the night one night, and we weren't able to find any trace of him. We don't know what happened.
did he left on foot, on a vehicle? Did he have a spaceship?
No vehicles disappeared. He unfortunately wasn't able to get the ship moving at all, so it certainly wasn't a spaceship-based departure.
So it just disappeared.
Well, for all intents and purposes, as you've seen, things happen out here. So I think probably more interesting was the fact that he was quite unhinged at the end, kind of thing. Like he was kind of raving about all sorts of gibberish. And
Anything in particular that he was raving about and being vocal?
yeah, mainly he was kind of cursing the ship and kind of talking about he could have done so much more than Aegis, and like if he'd been out there, if he'd had his time, he would have made much more of this. Such is the typical way of men who talk much and achieve little. That he kind of talked about is how he would have done things, but really came to not very much.
Okay, so
Pray that you don't end up the same.
Is that his ship?
Well, no, this is the ship that we sort of have here for this purpose. It had to be disassembled and brought in parts and then reassembled here because of the atmospheric anomalies between the Singing Vale and the Obsidian Abyss, and it wasn't possible to kind of bring it in any other way. So this ship's been here for quite a few seasons now, but hasn't been moving for the last 4 or 5 months or so.
Is there a particular reason why is the ship not moving? Is it broken down or?
Broken down indeed. And I believe you're the experts on this matter. I think you have all the equipment that your forebear felt would be relevant and had requested, but it was some time in coming.
We will certainly try.
I look towards Barcia and am I?
There no mechanic?
No mechanic there. No.
We're it.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
That was the deal. So we'll take a look at it.
Look, otherwise she says, I'm sure you're keen to get moving. You know, this is very important work that we've been doing here. We've been able to procure some small amount of Ethereum shards here at our station, but certainly things have been much reduced since the great man himself has been, out of contact. We're certainly anxious to hear what's happened to him. So your repairs are essential to the work of the company.
We're going to look for him. That's why we're here. Is there anyone you could recommend who would be able to assist us and knows this landscape?
Well, she says, look, there's the other people here at the station. We've all been here for varying amounts of time, but we've all got some experience. There's Doobie, she's my second in command. She's always a good person to talk to. There's the various other sort of traders and, anthropologists and so on that are kind of here trying to communicate with the Evori to get more sort of sense about matters from around these parts and expeditions and so on. But myself or Doobie are probably your best bet.
Okay. And the Evori, would they be of assistance as well?
What sort of assistance are you seeking from them?
Would they be able to come with us and help lead us as we search for the Dark Ages?
In terms of when you get there, there'll certainly be Evori there, like in terms of getting out to that station, if you can get the ship working. Do you mean you want someone to help you fly the route to there, or someone to help you when you reach the other end, or?
Bit of both, I think. We are unfamiliar with this area of space and we have no idea what we're walking into.
She says, leave it with me and I'll see what I can do.
Done. Leave the ship to us and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. So yeah, I guess walking around the station, like I said, it looks similarly on the inside, like it's fairly ramshackle. They kind of show you to a room or a couple of rooms that you guys can use to kind of bed down. Like it's just two rooms with kind of fairly Spartan cots kind of either side, and a kind of, chest of drawers in between, room to put down any gear that you might have. And there's a kind of mess area that people go to kind of, drink and occasionally eat. Seems to be a bit more drinking going on, surprisingly, even though it feels like it's a bit of a luxury out in these parts. Yeah, there's the kind of landing area, and there's, otherwise, storage areas and bits and pieces. Yeah.
Take the chance to have a shower, freshen up, and start poking at that ship.
Yep.
Keep myself amused.
Yep. Okay. Give me in terms of the ship, give me a mechanics roll against just kind of 2 purple. This is just to kind of get a sense of the problems and what might need to be done.
Ooh, check failed. 1 failure, but 5 advantages.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Okay. So I guess what you notice is that I think it's hard to put a finger on exactly what is the problem, but I guess what you do notice is that there are many problems, and I think you get a sense that it's about a number of different interrelated systems not working together efficiently. So you've got the sort of the power cells and the way that they're kind of, apparently not functioning, and then you've got the main drive array is kind of out of order. There's a sort of problem with the helm as well, and the kind of the steering and so on. And then you can sort of see that, things like navigation, comms, like there's a whole array of problems really.
Put this ship together, preschoolers.
Yeah, can I check and I don't know what I'd even use for this, but can I check and see if it looks deliberate?
You can, yeah. So how do you want to approach that? Like, what's your...
I think I'd like to try skullduggery as, being someone who has messed around with other people's things.
I think it's probably more in the lines of either mechanics or you could roll piloting, or you could probably roll like a knowledge skill as well if you wanted to use one of those.
Yeah, I think I'll go piloting.
Yeah. So give us a roll of piloting. Again, we'll just make it against 2 purple.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see that this thing is a fairly older model Wayfarer class freighter, kind of made by Kuwait Drive Systems. But the thing that stands out for you, you've kind of flown in the underworld. You've kind of flown, makeshift ramshackle ships and stuff in your kind of career. But this thing has literally been brought in about sort of 6 pieces kind of thing, hauled over land, stuck back together. And you can also see that it's not only has it kind of not been in the best state even before it was hauled, it's clearly been patched up and refixed, and a number of different jury-rigged, custom attempts to get it going. Kind of just means it's a bit of a hot breakfast all around kind of thing. So, yeah.
It's a real pile
Wow.
of junk.
It requires a bit of work.
It needs a bit of work. Yeah, it's going to take some work.
The price is even in one piece.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, notwithstanding that, there does seem it's not a completely hopeless case, but it's going to take some work. Yeah.
Then we might as well start getting to it.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll maybe do this as a sort of series of sort of 5 checks and sort of see how we go. But for the first one, again, I think because you failed that first roll, I think we'll make it slightly harder. But then you can have some advantage from that, or you can have some blues from that advantage. So we'll say it's against 3 purple, but you can have, we'll say 3 blue from the things you learnt looking around, and the support of Vazia as well, kind of looking it over.
Okay, let's have a go.
Nice.
Succeeded
Nice.
with 5.
Succeeded. Yeah. Well done. So you kind of start working on things, and pretty quickly, the power cell kind of issue is the kind of the core issue. Obviously, if you can't get the reactor working, then nothing's going to follow on. And you kind of get a really good sense for what will work. But what also becomes really quickly apparent is that the person before you didn't really know what they were doing. And in ordering a kind of Corellia Drive Systems kind of kit, it actually isn't really compatible with what this thing kind of needs. So it's sort of like that kind of like 1/4 inch to kind of metric sort of type sort of thing where, it's not really going to hook up correctly. So you kind of quickly get a fairly good list of things you'll need, but you kind of are put in the position of having to requisition that stuff to kind of come on a future caravan to kind of proceed.
Shite.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay. There's not much I can do except get that ship up to as close to complete as I can.
Yep.
And leave like sticky notes. This part goes here. That part goes there. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, look, you do what you can, I think, with what you have, but yeah, it becomes clear that you're going to have to get some more parts in, various, things that are kind of somewhat burnt through. So you're sort of left with a kind of uncertain, it's probably at least a month or something, but an uncertain amount of time where you guys are going to be on base, kind of waiting for the repairs to be kind of progressing.
Long time.
So I guess, yeah, so it is a bit of a sort of stall, like you've kind of hustled to get out here, and then you kind of get this message from Sarah, so if you complain, where she's sort of like, well, what did you expect? Like, this is what we deal with out here, but, we go as quickly as we can. This is a difficult working environment. But I guess I wonder, like, in that time, how do you spend your time kind of thing? Because you end up having a bit more time here than you kind of thought you would.
Yes.
What money is to be made? What
Yeah.
handicrafts do the locals make that we could take back? And these are exotic
Yeah.
goods from far off lands. Kind of.
There lots of people in the base.
There's probably oscillates between about, like, in terms of non-Ivori, it's probably somewhere about sort of like 8 to 10 or so, but it sort of goes up and down. Sometimes people go out
Where are they
on
going?
expeditions. So you see them sort of like they kind of either they go back on the caravan kind of thing, like to kind of return and bring more supplies. But you do see some people kind of like, set off and kind of climb up a escarpment and kind of head off sort of searching in fields beyond kind of thing as well.
Do they come back?
They come back. Well, yeah, some come back, some don't, like it varies.
Okay. What are they searching for?
They're basically looking for these shards. That's mainly what they're going sort of prospecting, further Ethereum shards.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I guess one thing you'd notice is there's not a lot of success. It's a pretty small haul that they get in. Like it's kind of in the 10s to 20s kind of thing. They go out kind of with, big containers hoping to bring back a lot, but they come back with not a lot.
Right.
And in between, there's a lot of kind of hanging around base and drinking and, getting occasional fight that kind of flares up and things like that.
And the drink, where's the drink coming from? Like, are they making it?
You could look into that if you want to find out how they make it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, give me a streetwise roll to find out how they make it, and maybe like who you ask as well, like how do you approach it? Do you just going to ask? Do you go to the base commander, or do you just kind of ask around?
Just ask around.
Yeah, okay. Give us a streetwise, just against 1 purple. Pretty straightforward. Yeah. Okay.
2 successes, 2 advantages.
So you find out, and you also find out subtly enough that they kind of win you into their confidence enough that they'll let you have some as well.
Oh,
But pretty much they're kind of diverting calories from the nutrient system to kind of like make a illicit fermented alcohol that they then kind of distill into this fairly potent kind of moonshine type sort of situation. Yeah, and that's what, and they say, look, if we do this to kind of pass the time, kind of thing. What else are you gonna do here?
is it any good?
I wouldn't say good.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
It does.
It's
does the
bathtub
job.
hooch. Come on.
Yeah.
It's made of nutrients.
Yeah. The main guy doing it's this guy called Orkwan, who's a weak way. And he kind of like laughs in this kind of gravelly laugh, and he's like, "Oh, he's good, yes." Like when you have someone, you're like, oh, like kind of taking the whatever's on the inside of your
I've never had
insides
a
off.
sequel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So can I learn how to make this? Are they going to teach me how to make it?
Yeah, look, you can learn how to make it. It's pretty, it's
Nothing else
pretty
to do.
standard in terms of the way that alcohol is made, in terms of,
Yeah.
ferment sugar with yeast and distill in a questionable process to make spirit. Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
learning to make. Hooch. Space hooch.
Yes,
Yeah.
space hooch.
Yeah.
Space moonshine. Yes.
They gamble with or around or on around here.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, they drink and then they gamble. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt.
Are you going to go gambling, Razia?
Oh, she's gonna see how many people she can charm out of their money before they get kind of annoyed.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, look, if you want to gamble, you're welcome to kind of to participate. They're playing a kind of dice-based game kind of thing. Like it seems like it's a fairly straightforward 3 dice. You kind of, call, I'm abstracting this, but you call high or low. Pairs are worth more, triples, etc. Complicated, but you get the read of it pretty quick. If you want to play honestly, you can make a 1 roll, and if you want to play dishonestly, you can make a skullduggery roll and see if you can.
Oh well, no, she wants to work out how to cheat.
Yeah. Okay, so
Skullduggery.
skullduggery. All right. So we'll have it be just against 2 purple, but we'll have a couple of black because of the unfamiliarity of the game and the kind of weird setting and stuff as well. Strange customs for these guys. They seem to mainly be betting kind of like what looks like it's kind of their salary, like they kind of just credits based on their salary. And a lot of them, while they're playing, kind of talk about that when they finally make the big score, they're going to be even bigger than Dark Aegis, and like they're going to bring in a lot of profit, and
Ooh.
Oh, okay, yeah. 3 successes, but 2 threats. I mean, assuming a couple of people don't like being scammed out of their money.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe you cheat successfully, but not very subtly in terms of like how much you win, and it doesn't take long before they kind of refuse to play with you further. So you probably end up winning about 500 credits worth, so it's a fairly decent haul. But yeah, you kind of quickly kind of have them not very interested, and while they really take to Runzai and like bring her in on the hooch production, Buzzia ends up being sort of a little bit respected, but not necessarily in their confidence as a result of a gambling prowess.
Nice one.
Fair enough.
I want to make some inquiries about the Dark Aegis. I want to know who he is, where he came from. Basically, as much information as I can about him. So I'll be asking around the station.
Yep. Who do you want to ask? Yeah, like who you approach?
Well, he's a legend, so she's going to go all fangirly.
Yeah, who are you going to ask? Like, are you going to go to? Are you going to go to Ceres, or are you going to go to second in command Doobie, or you're just going to ask the hooch guy, or somebody else?
All of the above? No, let's start with Doobie first.
Yep.
But yes, it's basically just like going and having a drink with some of these people and
Yeah.
opening that question. But yes, I definitely want to ask Doobie those questions as well.
Yeah. Okay, obviously you meet Doobie Way there. She's a kind of Toggerter woman, you know, kind of sort of late middle age kind of thing. But she's pretty busy with kind of running things on the station all of the time. Although you do sort of see that from time to time she comes into conflict with Ceres and they kind of have words about the way things are being run. You can see that she, she likes a drink herself. And yeah, when you come to ask her, I mean, I wonder, what do you ask her about Dark Aegis? Like, you probably met her already a couple of times, but what do you say?
I'm just going to leave it very open to begin with. Like, tell me more about Dark Aegis. I know he's a Mandalorian, but not a whole lot more. And he apparently was really good at finding the shards. But not much beyond that. And I'm wondering if you can help fill us in.
She's like, well, Dark Aegis. Oh, all everyone ever talks about. Hey, like, yeah, the great man, the great man. What else is there you haven't heard? It's, like he's, the legend is bigger than, bigger than the reality, I think. Who can really say? I mean, I barely worked with him. I've seen him come into station a few times, huge holes of Ethereum shards. No one can doubt his effectiveness, but, how does he do it? How does he do it?
And he's never told you.
We're not really sure. I think it sounds like the Umbral Desolation is particularly rich in them, but also it's particularly dangerous, and not many others have really come back from there. It seems to be something, whether it's, I don't know what it is anyway. I don't believe the hype though. He's just a person like you or I.
Does he have a partner? What makes him so good out there when everyone else fails? What's his secret weapon?
Look, that's a good question. I don't believe that it's some sort of gift. I don't know. Maybe he's just more able to deal with the Avori better than others. We have a lot of trouble here, but how does he deal with them? I'm not sure. That's the only thing I can think of. Obviously, they know the area better than anyone, but they're pretty hard to get much out of. Sure, we can trade basic things with them, and occasionally they'll trade a shard in exchange, but most of the time they sort of don't have much to offer.
Who would be the best person to speak to get a better understanding about the Avori?
Well, I think Ceres is going to try and find you an Avori to kind of assist you, as reliable as these things can be. As you said, they seem to move to their own tempo. 1 minute they're kind of there with you and apparently attentive, and then the next minute they kind of go completely quiet on you, or they go off to attend one of their rituals and don't return. They carry on as they were. It's hard to really predict.
Do you think he's got a special in with the Avori?
As I said, that's the only thing I can speculate. I haven't seen the man or his methods. I hear all manner of speculation. Anything from that he knows all about the Avori and is in with them, to that he's brings the kind of the brutal combat skills that he was known for on Mandalore to the fray in some way. Through to more mystical explanations that he's the son of, one of the great descendant of one of the great Mandalorian warlords or something, and can call up, dark on mystical powers. I don't really believe in that sort of stuff anyway. Like I've just got my drink, got my blaster. That's all that I need. Like I said, there's many a story about the guy. He's not here, so who can say?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Another thing you could note, I guess, if you make a vigilance check around her, actually, like maybe just a 2 purple vigilance check as you're sort of talking to her and just generally observing her.
Succeeded. 2 advantages and 2
Ooh,
successes.
nice.
Yeah, cool. Well done. So look, I think you kind of notice that, and maybe it's, later on that she approaches you as you've warmed up to her. But she trades she sort of smuggles things and sort of like trades in various things that are sort of not strictly approved in company policy, like whether it's something a little bit more exotic than the kind of hooch that's available, various bits and pieces that aren't sort of seen as worthwhile bringing on board the shack. You gather this might be why she gets into contact with Ceres, because she seems like she's a bit more of a sort of cynical operator. But I guess you notice that anyway if you ever need something brought in through those channels.
Cool. All right. Good to know. Thank you.
No worries.
I might clue in Fuzzier, given she's our little sneak thief.
Yeah, very good. What about Gadriel? Anything that he's kind of doing in the kind of wait at the station, or just laying low?
Actually, yes. We would be doing a couple of things on the down low.
Yep.
One would be meditating about these echoes that he has perceived across the surrounding area. So just delve in the forest, not in a hurry, but more focus, more control, trying to understand, not just searching for something or opening himself fully to whatever is remnant in the environment.
Yep.
And the other one, because he understands how that it may be a bit of a weight for the pods and the implements for the ship, he is going to be doing a sort of a jury rigging, a force jury rigging. So I'm going to be using mental tools and solid repairs and technical aptitude to start fixing things and just patching up the ship.
Yep. Okay. So in terms of the meditation and kind of focusing on things, I think give us a discipline check to kind of cover this kind of process of meditating.
Yep.
As you try to focus in this environment, it's a pretty overbearing kind of environment. And so it actually, these kind of like visions and stuff that you notice on the walk in, when you try to kind of touch that kind of part of your mind and kind of get into that centered space, it's actually really, really tough. So we'll have it be, again, it's quite hard. So 2 red and a purple, that's kind of just covering all this kind of, business that's going on. Tell me, would you have been partaking in the hooch at all while you're on station, or you?
No.
Nah, okay, so we won't give any black for that. But yeah, just 2 red and a purple, as there's this kind of seething kind of miasma of energy going around you.
Yep. Okay. And I'm going to flip force point.
Yep. Failed with 1 despair. Okay. Okay. So what you kind of get out of this, you kind of try to meditate, but you end up in this kind of semi-delirious kind of state, almost like the others were on the journey for a kind of a good week or so kind of thing. And, you end up in the kind of med bay and people can't really explain why. And to the rest of you, when you kind of hear about Gadriel ending up there, you sort of get dismissed, oh, this happens kind of thing. Like, the kind of madness that comes over people here sometimes. Yeah, like it's, it just kind of is what it is. Remind me, we haven't really been tracking conflict, have we? Like in terms of
No.
yeah, it's a bit of a kind of clunky system, so it's probably not worth suddenly doing it now. But I think in terms of the despair, I think when you sort of come to again, you kind of end up, rather than getting any information about what you were kind of, about where you are, you kind of get very stuck kind of ruminating on something traumatic from your own past. And I'll let you kind of detail that as much or as little as you want. But you get kind of really hung up on that, and it kind of gets you in the way of getting much of anything done, really, between that and the kind of being laid out. Yeah.
Yeah, he would, well, he's not particularly, okay. He's friendly, but he's not a person that shares much about himself. So probably what would have happened is that he would be even more curt with everybody and just minimal interactions, just kind of putting up walls between him and everybody else.
Yep.
Caught up in his own mind, so to speak.
Yeah. Okay.
Which probably propel him, like, no, there is something bad lingering in the environment, so I'm just going to hold us on fixing this ship so we can move on.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll kind of come back to the ship, but I don't know, like having seen Gadriel go down, like is there anything that others do, or any, other bits and pieces before we come back to ship fixing?
Yeah, I think if Vazia has told, oh yeah, people just go mad out here, she'd start to wonder why and want to know what the people who went mad had in common. So
Yeah. Sarah, she says, look, do you have any medical training or anything? Are you kind of equipped to kind of look into things like this?
just curiosity.
Just curious. She's like, well, it's a little irregular, I think, to look over these kinds of company files, but suppose I'll allow it. And she kind of like gives you access to this kind of data bank of what's happened. In terms of understanding it, give us a medicine check against 3 purple.
Yeah.
All right, so you fail with 3 threat. Okay, so you read over these details. It's been kind of going on for probably the whole time that the station's been here. It's been sort of some years now. but particularly more so in the last kind of couple of years, really. You kind of read through these details of these pretty harrowing kind of accounts of pretty harrowing kind of suicide attempts that I kind of mentioned in there. Accounts of people losing their mind and kind of being sent back, kind of strapped onto one of these kind of things. It's pretty horrible stuff. And I think it all gets a bit much for you, and you end up taking 3 strain as you kind of just get a bit overwhelmed by the content of it, and you don't really put together a pattern per se.
You trauma yourself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just go check on Gadriel, make sure he's doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's a grumpy bear, but just making sure at least he's fed and watered and not going to go psycho killer on us all.
Do you try and do any sort of investigation within the force, or just check on him?
Please don't touch the force.
Look inside to your,
Do you know what?
internal workings.
I think Dead Sarah, she's going to look at him and go, nope, because he's been trying to teach her some things, and she's not a very good student, and performance anxiety, no.
Yeah, okay.
Trying to heal the teacher.
Yeah, no. He's not her teacher.
I feel like anyway though, like when you're kind of there with him, it's almost like it does draw you in a little bit. So give me to kind of try and not touch the force and not, communicate with it at all. Give me again a discipline check. We'll make this one against 1 red, 1 purple, because you're not sort of like trying to connect with it. You're just trying to resist.
4.
I succeeded with an advantage.
Yeah, okay. So you managed to kind of hold yourself away from any temptation to kind of like reach into his mind or touch the force around him. And I guess for your advantage, you get a sense of the kind of edge of it though, in not doing that, in that there is something pretty dark and there's really strong kind of dark energy kind of in this place. And so, you get a sense of having done the right thing and kind of not into it further in that way. What does happen? So you're kind of expecting another caravan to come with the kind of parts you ordered in about 4 weeks. It sort of drags on. It's kind of about 6 and it still hasn't arrived. And you're like, when is this thing ever coming? But it's sort of, you get called in. Who was it that was asking about the Evori? Was that Amaya that was asking about the Evori? Yeah. So I think Amaya, you get called in to see Ceres. And in there in the room is this kind of fairly tall robed Evori with this kind of striking red mask with this kind of white ochre paintings on it kind of thing, kind of over their face. And she sort of says, Amaya, I want you to meet, Red Mask is what they go by. This is one of the Evori who'll be able to work with you to help you in your trip out to meet with Dark Aegis. We've come to an agreement where they'll be able to assist you as much as possible. So, please meet Red Mask. They sort of incline their head, and you see they're holding a vocalizer kind of thing that does some translation to basic, and they sort of curtly greet you, like, greetings, Offworlder. How may I assist you?
I'll incline my head to the same degree, no more, no less.
Yep.
We are going to be traveling further into the Umbral Desolation. And obviously we are not native to this area. I'm hoping you can assist us.
She says, as is my mission, and as I have agreed, so shall it be.
It is a pleasure to work with you.
She just nods. Yeah. Well, they nod, rather. They don't really have a gender in the same sense.
Yes. Hopefully we will depart soon. Is there anything you need that we can help you with?
No, they don't indicate any needs, no.
I will try to open a line of communication, and I think I need to speak to some anthropologists too.
Yes, yeah.
But yes, start that dialogue happening with
them. Okay. Yeah. So look, they're up on the base. You're welcome to try and talk to them kind of whenever you like.
Yeah, she wants to learn.
Yeah.
They're going to be the key to this, and I think that's something Amaya understands. They're the key to survival, at the very least, and to finding Dark Aegis. So we really need them to be on our side.
Yeah. I think the one thing that becomes pretty apparent from interacting with Red Mask is that they communicate in a way that is quite polite and limited. But it's hard to get beyond that kind of thing. Like if you have a specific request, they'll do what they can to help you. But in terms of, I don't know, it depends on what questions you ask, I suppose, but it's kind of hard for you to get further than that.
So I want to go speak to anthropologists. What's offensive in their culture? What's I know they've got a violent streak, so what are the parameters around that? So those sorts of background research is something I've got another few weeks to work on.
Yep. Give me a xenology roll. It's going to be quite difficult though. So it's going to be against 4 purple. You can have a blue for having the assistance of red mask, but I'm going to upgrade one of the purples to red. I'm going to flip one. So you've got 1 red, 3 purple, and a blue against your xenology.
And that's me using my advantage as well.
Advantage from before.
Yeah.
I don't think specifically for this role. I think that was kind of more in terms of how you. Oh, you can have another blue for that, I suppose, if you want. Yeah.
Oh yes, yes, I want.
Why not?
Thank
for
you.
it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it helps.
Hopefully. Oh,
Oh,
2
yeah.
failures but 1 advantage.
Yeah. And what were you sort of trying to understand? Like, what was your objective?
I just want to not offend them, but also not trigger a violent confrontation.
Yeah.
I basically don't want them to go, oh, you've just insulted my clan, you die. I don't want that.
Yeah. You don't get a really strong sense, but for your advantage, I think you do witness this thing that Radmask refers to as the Trial of Shadows, which is where 2 Avori with very different kind of masks and facial markings, which again, they don't really explain what that means, but they go through this kind of dance-like kind of combat, which sort of combines kind of body movements and shadow, and it seems to be some sort of conflict resolution process. So you get to witness it, and you get some sense from a red mask about what it's about, but you don't really get much further than that, I suppose. But something.
Do remember the masks were particularly important in their culture, so
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think just going forward, that's something she's going to be really focusing on.
Yep. Absolutely.
But that's a role
Okay.
for another day.
Yep. So look, kind of another week or so passes, and then finally the kind of caravan comes in. It's probably got about 80% of what you'd kind of wanted. It's not ideal. I think you can certainly go for it. And I think Gadriel was going to help out with the kind of mentally upgrade stuff. Tell me, in terms of the mechanics of that kind of force-based stuff, is that using mechanics to roll, or are you kind of using something else?
Basically, it's kind of funny. This is like having the perfect tool shaped by the force.
Yeah.
So it improves the mechanic checks, but also if it's something that relates to
Like an item that you need or something.
whole trauma or repairs, it does have +1. And the technical attitude means that if it's something that pertains a computer related task, it takes out 25% of the length of ramp.
Yeah.
So
Of how long it
basically,
takes. Yeah.
it's like jury rig repairing on steroids.
Yep. Okay. So I guess, are we having a Maya sort of lead the thing though, and you're assisting? Should we do it that way?
The way that he would do it is he would hang around Amaya, and while she's like, I don't know, in the pit, just working with a wrench. What the camera would see is he is in a semi lotus pose, and you can see a bunch of things flying around and just inserting themselves in the sockets. And
Okay.
very Luke and training in Dagobah with the stones.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, cool. So I think in terms of mechanically, so I think let's have a Maya roll. So you can upgrade once as though you're using the assistance of Gadriel for your pool. So you have, because I think you've got 1 yellow, 2 green. So you go to 2 yellow, 1 green. And then I'll give you a couple of extra blue for that as well. And then you're going to be rolling against 3 purple and then 2 black, because the parts aren't quite right, but they're kind of nearly right now.
I might flip a point to help me
Go
out.
for it. Go for it. Yeah.
How much mechanics do you have, Naomi?
1 yellow, 2 blue.
I have 2 yellows, 1 green.
You should be leading this puppy.
So you're going up to doing the 2 yellow, 1 blue, and 1 because you're skilled assistant, so it doesn't matter. It's the same mechanically. So.
And I'm upgrading it because I'm flipping a point.
Yep. So you've got 3 yellow, 2 blue against 3 purple, 2 black.
Check failed.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ba-bow.
So you work hard on it, and like I think the way it ends up kind of going down is you kind of get most of the way there, but it doesn't quite sort of get off the ground, and it ends up you end up spending another month waiting for a couple more parts to kind of come through before you finally get it into kind of a good enough order. So it's been a pretty long, frustrating wait. It's kind of like nearly 3 months kind of thing by the time you kind of got the thing, set up and ready to go. This kind of rickety, jury-rigged thing that it is. So the handling in terms of like piloting it, so it's got a -3 on the handling. So when you're piloting it, just remember you got to add 3 black to every time you use the thing because it's not in great working order. But it's a lovely ship. But yeah, you do finally get it ready to go after kind of quite a long, wait for it. And Ceres is kind of quite, keen to see the back of you and see you on your way. Anxious to know what's happening with Dark Aegis. Doobie's kind of skeptical that it'll be worth doing at all, but offers to sell you anything you might need to take along the way that the company couldn't provide. And I don't know if you get any hooch for the road. That's probably too precious to let you take away. But yeah, along with Red Mask and yourselves, you're kind of ready on this fairly rundown old freighter. Do you want to sort of rechristen it as anything else, given that it's kind of I guess a bit like the ship of Theseus? Like, is it still the same ship that it was when he started rebuilding it? I think we gave it a name anyway.
I can rename it. She's the one who's worked hardest.
No, she hates the damn bitch. No.
Well, that's its name then.
That's
damn
what it's
bitch.
called, the damn bitch. Yeah.
No.
Perfect. Name.
Yep, done. Christened with some hooch.
Yeah.
Oh God. Sorry.
Yeah,
Who are you apologizing to?
to the damn bitch.
Okay. So
Oh lordy.
you kind of take off, and you kind of go through this kind of hype. This, what you're told is the way to go is through this hyperspace anomaly. That kind of leads into this fairly asteroid-choked, difficult kind of run. So I think I would gather it'd be Vazia flying. Hey, like given that you're the pilot of the group,
Yeah.
give us a piloting check. Remembering that you've got your 3 black, and it's going to be against 4 purple.
Ooh.
Feel free to flip light side points.
Yeah, flip a point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that upgrades me to.
So if you've got a green, you upgrade that to a yellow in your piloting pool, or otherwise you add another green if you have already got all yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at it and my brain was going, oh, da-da-da. Yay! This is terrifying.
Oh.
Failed with 4 threats.
Okay.
Whoa. Our goose is cooked.
That helped me so much.
Uh-oh. Asteroid field.
So you're making your way through this asteroid field, and it's kind of pretty hairy, and you kind of have a few minor collisions that kind of go on. Roll for a ship critical on this. 45. Okay, so 45 gets us a component hit. So what I'm going to say is it's the sensor array is actually taken out, so that you're kind of flying fairly blind now after kind of an asteroid kind of hits one of your sensor systems, which kind of snowballs a little bit in terms of you kind of, desperately holding on for dear life, kind of traveling through this difficult hyperspace array. When you kind of reach this, when you suddenly realize that you're coming under fire kind of thing without really kind of getting a sense of what it was. So as well as these kind of asteroids and so on, your shields, your kind of system show that your shields are being hit on the starboard side by something. It's hard to get a sense of what it is because your sensors don't really work. What do you do?
Open a channel, just a wide channel, and do the equivalent of a what the fuck? Hello? Can I help
Yeah. You kind of over the channel, you kind of hear this sing-songing but sort of loud, aggressive kind of noise coming in from all directions, and you can, and in response, you see that sort of red mask stands up and start making some noise in response to it, and they seem to be moving, sort of looking kind of agitated, but you don't get any response in basic kind of thing.
Friend of yours, I assume.
No, the shooting continues. Yeah. So, what do you do in response to that? I guess in terms of what you can see, there's kind of a, just looking out the window, you can see that there's kind of a heavier kind of asteroid field off to the kind of port side, and on the starboard side, it's a bit kind of clearer. You probably have to sort of choose one or the other, I guess, like in terms of the turbulence coming up.
Yeah, so this is the question. What sensors and
But you've got a Jedi. You might be able to help steer.
I mean, it might be worth someone attending to the shields as well, like trying to angle the deflector shields or something like that to try and.
Yeah. Going
Yeah.
to kindly request that somebody look out the window and give directions. Or the equivalent.
We've got gun
Go for a
turrets, don't we?
spacewalk up the top and have a look around here. You would have, some limited gun turrets. Yeah.
She's not going to explicitly state, please use the force to help me navigate. She's going to hedge around it. Somebody could perhaps.
On the Wayfarer class, you do have a dorsal quad laser cannon. It's probably not as per the original manufacturer specifications after various different things that have been done to the ship, but could try that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind trying blowing up a couple of the asteroids, like not targeting the ships.
Yeah.
They move, the asteroids are.
So who's going on the laser cannon? Who's going to take that?
I don't think anybody has gunnery.
No, I don't think.
Say? Alright, I'll go do that. Gadriel, you help Azia steer a little bit. And
Yeah.
We've got another turret, surely.
There's just the one. There's just the one on the ship. Yeah, that's all you got.
No, just one. Oh.
Yeah. Single gunner. Yeah, it's a pretty limited ship.
I'll give it a go.
Perhaps Run's idea. Hold on.
Yeah.
Might bit bumpy.
Okay, and anyone kind of who was attending to the shields, like trying to angle the deflector shields, or?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. So give us a computers check for that then. I think there probably is this difficulty somewhere, but just we'll go with 2 purple as a sort of quick and dirty. Yeah, cool. Okay. So at the expense of a kind of strain to the ship, you do manage to kind of shore up the shields on that side to kind of defend yourself a bit better. All right, let's have the gunnery roll from our expert gunner Amaya. We'll just make it against 2 purple, but also 3 black because of the kind of ships, rolling around and dodging asteroids and everything else going on.
Can I use sense danger to remove 2 setback die?
Of course, it's.
Good. Alright, let's go. 3 successes and 3 threats, but I succeeded.
Yeah, okay. So you kind of blow a path through these asteroids, but with the kind of shields angled towards these attacks, the debris of the asteroids hits you up pretty hard, and so the ship's sort of further strained by that. As it sort of jittered around. Again, I'm sort of doing this somewhat abstractly rather than doing it really strictly. But yeah, you kind of, hear a few systems kind of fry a little bit as kind of this debris hits the ship as you're flying through. But it does kind of give you a bit of shelter from this kind of, bombardment that you're getting. And you see this sort of red mask, again, it just continues in this kind of high pitched, noise, not particularly responding to anything that you guys, I mean, you haven't tried to talk to them anyway, but, and yeah, almost just kind of standing there doing what they're doing. As you sort of move through, the fire kind of lessens, and eventually, probably half an hour or so later, you kind of get through it. The ship's pretty beat up. You probably, I don't know, we'll say sort of just abstractly, you're going to need some more sort of repairs to the hull kind of thing once you get through. But you do kind of make your way out, and you kind of emerge into this pitch black system where you can see this pale blue light that's kind of swirling almost like down this kind of plug hole into this just absolute black void, which you recognize from the charts as the kind of the binary star that's being sort of sucked into the black hole that was the other star of this binary star system. And sort of spinning around this, there's various kind of like shards and debris and so on that are making their way into this black hole. But you kind of come across this kind of foreboding fortress, kind of ancient looking kind of ruin carved into one of these asteroids that's kind of drifting in that direction, which the kind of beacon says is the Umbral Citadel, which is the kind of station that Dark Aegis was heading up. And probably about half a day sort of flying out there kind of thing, but you can kind of see it now ahead kind of thing to make your way to. And as you're sort of approaching, you do get hailed over the system. And this kind of shrill voice, kind of like wiry haired looking human kind of character comes up on the screen. And he's saying, help, please, save me. This is Varys Eccles. I'm here marooned and need your assistance. Thank God you've come. Oh, thank God you've come. This kind of beacon that's probably halfway between you and the Citadel. What do you do?
Is it a live message or is it like
it's a live message? Yeah. No, he comes up, on the screen like holographically. Yep, as a live message. It's hard to scan where it's coming from because your sensors are out, of course, but you get a coordinate beamed to you.
I look towards Varsi and like, sounds a bit too convenient, isn't it?
We are not in the best position to assist anyone else.
Yeah.
And you sort of get a please help me. I'll get you. I know his ways, his moods. I can get you in with him. He just cast me out here. But Dark Aegis.
He cast you out. Why would that help us?
He had one of his moods and cast me out. But you don't have to fall into the same trap if you let me help you. But you have to help me first.
And you are marooned, you say?
Yeah, that's right. I'm in a escape pod. I've got about 4 hours of air left.
Suspicious.
Which direction is your escape pod, friend?
So it gives you some coordinates. It's an hour or so away, kind of thing, not too far away.
Amaja is up in the gunner turret, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Amaja, locking in these coordinates. For fire.
It's probably a bit beyond firing range at this point. You can't visually see it, but yeah, you can definitely.
Wow. You would set her up to commit cold-blooded murder like that. Wow.
I haven't said pull the trigger.
Semantics at that point.
Risk management, dear, as we move closer.
Besides, you haven't seen nothing. It's
No, she's, yeah.
This does not concern you.
These are not the droids we're looking for.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I look at Varsia. What do you think, boss?
I think that we go closer, but not too close.
Yeah. Let me see if I can bring the sensors back online in the meantime.
Yep. All right.
It does rather smell of a
Crap.
Crap.
It smells like cabbages.
Cabbages.
Oh my god.
In terms of fixing the sensors, let's have a computers check. I'm gonna say it's 3 purple, 3 black because the parts that you've got are pretty limited, pretty burnt out.
Burn a point, Miguel.
Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna flip one as well, so we'll make it 1 red, 2 purple, 3 black.
Can Vassia assist because she's a rather.
You can add a blue for assistance, yeah, if you don't have.
1 blue for assistance, and let me see what do I get in actual bonus.
You see, actually, now that you've kind of merged, Red Mask is almost kind of withdrawn into themselves. They're sort of just like sitting down, almost meditating or something.
All right.
Just a straight failure with no advantage, no disadvantage. It's amazing.
Nothing.
Yeah, so you kind of do everything that you can. You jury rig, various things. You end up using a fork out of the galley to try and get it working. Unfortunately, just no dice. The sensors are not coming back.
Yeah.
And you're gonna need to sort of like put it into a dry dock and really go over it properly to get them happening. Yeah.
Yeah. I intercom Barcy and said, "Hey, boss, I think we need a new ship."
I have a perfectly lovely ship. Not here.
So as you approach this, you do see that there's this fairly battered looking escape pod. It's got sort of like this kind of arcing kind of electric sort of thing going on one side of it, like it's in pretty bad nick. It's sort of like got this kind of slow spin going on that must leave the person inside feeling fairly
Easy.
you know, worse for wear. Yeah, make of it what you will.
Try and grab it, I guess.
Hold on. Let's
Okay.
not be
Okay.
hasty.
Let's not be hasty. Okay.
So, what's your name, friend?
The Varys Eccles is his name.
So, Varys, where are you hailed from? How do you end up here?
Yeah.
Okay, just kick you out because something, but
Yeah, he
Tell
says,
me-
"Oh, I hail from Corellia, but I came out here. I'm a journalist. I came out here chasing a story about the great man. I'd heard many wonderful things about his work, and I've learned a lot from him. I've spent many hours in his presence. He speaks with a voice that one can't help but listen to, but also his moods. His temper can be was terrible when his gore is up."
right. So, in tangible terms, how can you help us?
If I can introduce you to him, I can help you.
Yeah, but you're not in his good graces.
I'll be able to smooth that over. We always have these tiffs, and then he brings me back in.
Right. Varys.
You are rescued from it often then.
Yes.
Well, this is a particularly bad one, but I'm sure we can.
Oh, what did you argue about?
I was merely, questioning him about his, asking him about his methods, and trying to document more of his great work. And he became impatient with my questions and said that I was getting in his way.
I said to Barcy, I'm not very convinced about this guy. Can we radio up the station?
You can try, yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll try that and go, we have no response.
So you don't get any response.
Well, there is nothing stopping us putting him under restraint.
Yeah, you still do have force of numbers, obviously.
What is it with you and handcuffs?
That's so true.
Do we have like a magnetic rope, or clearly we're not going to have any sort of
Goodies on this ship? No, you don't.
Yeah. Let's just lasso this bastard and drag him back.
Yeah. So you're
let's-
kind of bringing him back, but not on board. Is that what you're doing? or-
No.
No, okay. So yeah, he's very grateful. Oh, thank you. I'm sure I'll have enough air there to make the rest of the journey. I think he sort of taps his meter there.
Yeah.
Stop talking, dear.
Yes, I need him to like breathe. He's kind of heavy, panicked kind of breathing.
If I were you, I would breathe slowly, and I hope that you don't need to go to the toilet.
So as you approach, he's kind of there doing his best. You approach this fairly foreboding kind of fortress that gets larger and larger in your viewport as you get closer. All but completely dark here, aside from this slight amount of light escaping from this remaining star. And without even those that have no interest in, I suppose that's only Varzia, that haven't got any real force affinity, get a bad feeling about this kind of thing. Like it's a fairly foreboding sort of situation. And that's where we'll stop for tonight. Hey, we'll continue next time.
Well, thank
Sounds
you.
like everyone needs a
Yeah.
much needed rest. Thanks for playing, guys, and we'll
No problems.
see you next week.
Yeah.
See you next
Done.
week, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.